good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Patience, so I'm your host today. I'm the product and marketing from SecureOne. Good morning to everyone. Thank you for joining us today. So our topics today is regarding our FileCloud, the HyperContent collaboration. And we are very welcome to have our principal, Mr. Keith Chua, today to present to us and share us more about FileCloud. And later on, we will have Aaron from SecureOne to demonstrate to you how FileCloud works. So without further delay, we shall start and pass it to Mr. Keith. Thank you.
Hi, and thank you very much, Patient, for arranging all this session with all these partners, right? Please forgive me if I don't sound right because I'm actually having a running nose. I have a bit of fever as well, but that's fine. It's not going to affect, how I'm going to share all this information to you. Maybe just a very quick background. I've seen some really familiar names that I worked with previously when I was with Camp Technologies as well. So as you know, previously I was from Camp Technologies and now I am with FileCloud, and all the C-level of FileCloud are actually from Camp Technologies as well. So if you ever had a chance to work with Camp previously as a SI in Malaysia, you will know the style we work, and yeah, definitely we are keen to have you on board with us in the same journey that you had in Camp, and now with FileCloud. So without wasting too much time, let me just share my screen. Right. Can you see it correctly?
Yes, can see clearly.
Okay. So FileCloud, right? Who are we? Yep. So in simple terms, we are pretty much an enterprise file sharing and sync platform that allows you to collaborate internally or externally, and of course, with compliance and governance baked in. And why is this important, right? Especially for banks, where there are a lot of sensitive data, especially for healthcare, where there are a lot of sensitive data, government as well. It is important that they are still able to control how files are being shared and collaborating, yet still have ways to actually prevent sensitive data from being shared to people that is not supposed to get it, or perhaps to some sort of data leakage. So we do help a lot of our clients to prevent data loss when the clients are on board on our file sharing platform. And of course, with automation baked in, you can really automate a lot of tasks. You can automate in a way that let's say you have a certain process that's happening every day, right? And you want that process to be automated. That can be done as well. Later in the demo, Aaron will be able to show you, some part of it. So what you're getting is really the cloud experience in your infrastructure. With that, you'll be able to achieve, very high flexibility in terms of file sharing, and it's truly secured as well. So we were founded in 2016. The whole Camp C-level team joined in November 2021. So that's quite interesting. I only joined very recently in February this year. Right now, we are counting 130 people plus minus globally to really accommodate the growing number of customers that we have. Like I shared earlier, a lot of our customer profiles, a lot of clients are mainly from the very enterprise type of business. Mainly in the government, in the banking, oil and gas, healthcare. That's where we see that we have the most success in. Of course, our HQ is based out of Texas, is not in Austin. Our EMEA office is in Limerick in Ireland, and then Singapore is our APAC office. We also have a lot of backend staff, like say inside sales, renewal team, finance, operations in the Philippines as well. In the Philippines, we have roughly around 25 people. So what is the key unique selling point and differentiator about us, right? There are plenty of products out there that does file sharing, like Dropbox, Google Drive, and what we are really different is that it is this on-prem model that allows customers to be compliant to data residency, be able to have full control on the security parameters they have in place in their infrastructure. It is really giving back the control back to the customers. You know, when you're hosted onto let's say a Google Drive or onto a Dropbox, you are not in control. You're sharing the resources with many other customers as well. So there are definitely a much bigger chance that steps might go wrong that will leak out your data, or perhaps the security policy isn't as ideal for enterprise customers. And from there, of course, we support air-gap networks. We are able to do private cloud as well. You can actually connect us to your S3 storage, like your Hitachi storage, your Dell storage, or anything that supports S3, right? And of course, you get compliance out of the box. Data residency, ITAR, HIPAA. I think HIPAA and GDPR will be something that's more relevant to our region. HIPAA is mainly used in the healthcare industry, right, whereby they have this standard, and then GDPR as well. And all this it is not required of you to have putting in policies manually just to get it comply. It is all already there. Later during the demo, you will see what I mean as well. And of course, you do get a lot of control on your data governance and security. The ability to let you access, to control your user access, to audit, to do DRM, to do data loss prevention, DLP. You're able to classify contents very automatically as well. Let's say your healthcare records, if it appears in or your national ID number, if it appears in a certain subset of patterns, is able to recognize it and capture it automatically. And why is that convenient, right? Because once you have that captured data, you can create policies whether you want to have another layer of approval before such data is being shared, or perhaps you want to completely block it off and not allow such data to be shared. Same goes for Visa, MasterCard, credit card numbers as well. And of course, we support multi-tenancy, high availability, geolocation as well. We are very highly customizable as well, right? When you look at the admin dashboard, anything on the admin dashboard, anything on the UI interface, or perhaps you want to act as a managed service provider or cloud service provider, you want to resell this to your customers, you can actually have one customer with one login page and things like that. So when they log in, they actually see their own company name. So of course, we do support integration with Microsoft Office, Google Docs. For their drive itself, they can very quickly already open it up on the drive, and it will open up Google Office or preview in Google Office, Google Docs. Support RESTful API to let you automate some of the tasks that you want as well. We have a really huge library of what you can do with our APIs as well. Single sign-on, two-factor, and multi-language. So if you have Chinese customers and things like that, we do have, I think right now we have 11 different language packs. Yep. So these are the different sectors that we really are successful in. Like really is the medium, large enterprise. Of course, there will be, during my February until now, I also see some small customers as well that is on board with us. But that is not really where is our sweet spot. Because I have to be honest with you, our pricing is not the cheapest, right? If you want something that is a low cost, I'm sure there are some products out there, but where our sweet spot is really towards the 100, 1,000, 10,000 customer accounts. And we have a lot of those in APAC region. We just won with a bank in Australia, 40,000 users. We just won with oil and gas in Indonesia, 10,000 users. We just won with electric company in Thailand, 20,000 users. So there are definitely a lot of such things happening. And we're also talking to an oil and gas company in Malaysia. That is also 10,000 users. Yeah. So on the verticals, like I share, the government sectors, the life science, the these are the government sectors. That's where we are really strong at. We also have partnership with some of the tech alliance like Amazon, Oracle, as well as Dell at this moment. We operate in the four key region, right? The US, the Europe, Middle East, Asia, and of course Australia. If you look at the bottom there, you can see we are very highly rated on the Gartner peer review. So if you're free, do take a look, to see what the customers are actually talking about on our product. Sorry, I'm losing my voice a bit. So if you have any question, please let us know after this, or you can type in the chat as well. Yep. So on the web UI, you will see that the folder structures is very familiar, right? If you have ever used something like a Dropbox, you have used something like some sort of file sharing platform, you will see that it is very similar. And it's also intentionally done that way so that you as or someone as an administrator, they can onboard their users very quickly and very easily, right? And of course, if you mount to your desktop, you will be able to see those files in your Windows Explorer as well. So as I was sharing earlier, when you are on those public resources like the Dropbox and things like that, there are a lot of shared resources that put your data at risk. And the last thing you want is to have data when it is accidental or be it intentionally leaked out, and you want to have control over it. And these are on the left is the list of items that are being shared across many different users, across many different clients when you're on a cloud solution like that. For us, it's definitely the opposite side, right? We give you back the control. Now you have control over data residency. Now you have control on how you want to govern your data and the sharing. Whatever that was exposed and shared with many other people right now, you don't share it with anyone ever again, right? Using FileCloud. Even for us online, the online version, it is exclusively to you. It's not shared to anybody as well. So that is the true difference about FileCloud. So this is our content model from the very ground up. How our solution look like, right? It starts from the very beginning on your storage, right? We help you to encrypt your storage. We help you to encrypt your information. And then with it, you are able to put in access control, to control how you want to share with which user or to whom, but be it internal user, external users, you have full control on that. Yeah, of course, you are able to put in different types of policies in place, be it you want to remove certain files after a certain number of days and things like all these are in full control. Anything that you can think of, I would say you will be able to create a policy to govern your information. Of course, we have an inbuilt DLP, which many products out there do not have. And with it, you can use it to block, lock-in files. You're able to prevent items that is not supposed to be shared from sharing as well, right? And of course, we help you on the digital rights management, to control the printing if you do not want that to happen, to control screen capture, even if it's downloaded as well. And help the business get compliant, be it whether it is their own company's policy or towards a government policy that many customers that uses us for right now. So if you look at the landscape out there, definitely there are plenty of products in the public cloud side. But if you really look go down the list, on the on-prem, on the private cloud, I think there are lesser and lesser players. And when you're talking about something that's really enterprise, highly scalable, supporting multi-site, with all the securities measures in place to help you protect your data, I think it is only us, FileCloud, that truly does this well. So yeah, I think okay, yeah. So this is just some of the comparison, right? On the pricing part. If you look at us, yeah, and compare to Dropbox, we are still very, very much more competitive as compared to them. And you are getting a lot out of what you get in FileCloud as compared to you getting a Dropbox account, for example. Yep, so these are just some of the customers that we have. If you can see here, there's a lot of government, there's a lot of banks, there are a lot of oil and gas as well. Yeah, and we usually are very popular in very sensitive departments, like the judiciary in Hong Kong, like the Macau, like the Ministry of Defense in Australia. Yeah, so that is the end of my presentation. If you have any questions, do feel free to let us know. If not, I will pass the floor to Aaron.
Okay, thank you, Keith, for that well presentation. I will share my screen now. All right, are you guys able to see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay, very good. All right, I'll just start right into it. Okay, so good morning, everyone. My name is Aaron. So I'll be demonstrating the user portal and the admin portal for FileCloud. All right, so what we're looking here currently is the user portal. We have the login credential box here, okay, and we have a logo right here, and also we have languages that user can choose up to 11 languages from Spanish to Arabic. So for the logo, FileCloud is a very brand-friendly product. You can put your brand, your logo into it. It's 100% customizable. We understood that branding is very important to maybe some resellers or maybe some customers. So this is something that user can do. So let me log into FileCloud user portal to see what we can do and what. Okay, so early on you saw like a screenshot of the web UI in the presentation. So this is what you will see. Once you log in, you'll be directed into the user dashboard summary. First, you see your username, the account username right here. That's my name. And it tells you how many files you have in your FileCloud currently and how many folders. And this below here is the storage quota. This can be set by the administrator of FileCloud. All right. And then here, it tells you how many files you're sharing, how many files has been expired for sharing, and how many client applications you have installed in the device under this account. So it will tell you that. So under that, here you can see your files folder, the team collaboration folder, and the folders, the files that FileCloud users that shared with you. So you're able to access directly from here. And below here are the recent documents that you have modified or accessed before. And beside here, the right side are documents that you have favorite or start. Okay. So like Keith mentioned, the design itself is intentionally designed in a way that is very familiar so that user can easily adapt to FileCloud. So it makes it really user-friendly to use. So let me go into one of the files to show you an example of a file, what option you can do. So for example, I'm under my files path, right? Let's take company A, for example. Once I hover files, there's going to be a few options that appears here, like preview, download, and then edit online and sharing. Of course, if you to right into this three dot here and click, you'll see much more options that user can choose. For example, they can lock the files. If they're doing an editing and they're sharing this file, they can lock it. They can make comment on it, or they can even roll back to a previous version in case if there's some ransomware happen or some versions that they modified or it's corrupted. They can roll back to a previous version of it. But let me jump into the share function of FileCloud. So we understood that every files have different type of data sensitivity and also confidentiality. So here, users has a very flexible options in terms of sharing the file securely. First, they're able to edit the URL link to whatever they want. Perhaps want to change this to something like Doodle. They can give it a name, any type of URL. It's up to the user. They can even change the share name of this file. All right. Or maybe they can edit the expiry date for sharing the file. Maybe tomorrow is the only day they can share the file, and after that, it won't be valid anymore. This file cannot be shared out to any people. So of course, we have some three options here. You can allow anyone with a link, to access this file, all right? Or you can allow anyone with a link with a password to make it more secure, so that you can set a password right here, password of choice, something secure. Then you can share this link to a person that requires the password to download this file. So you can do that. Or you can also share the files that is to some users that is in FileCloud. You can do that, or you can share to a group as well. So FileCloud, we allow that flexibility in terms of sharing your files securely. Okay, so let's jump to the workflow. So of course, some business process that may be, an everyday thing. So you want to automate it. So FileCloud, we support automation of workflows process. So let me show you how easily we can create a workflow. So I click into the create a workflow and just click here to start. They basically will guide you on the steps on how you can do it. Now they're asking you how do you want to start the workflow? What kind of event that you want to start to trigger workflow? For this demo, I'm just going to select automatically on a file activity. So I'll select next, then choose the file path folder that will be triggering this event. So for me, probably I'll just select my files. All right, any files that's in under this path folder will trigger this event. So what kind of action? So if any files within that folder path is created, we'll trigger this event. So I'll add it right there. I will have my event that starts the chain reaction to things I might set. So for example, now I have an event. I just need something to trigger the action. So my action will be wait for file approval. So any files that has been created under that file path, I'll have a file approval. And my right side here, I have approval list of email I can set. This is where I'll put my supervisor's email. For example, I'll put my supervisor that's in FileCloud user, add it in. So this is customizable, how many times that's required to approve the file. For here, we'll put 1. The message is also customizable, but for me, I'll just put as default, please approve this file, and I'll save it. So once the file has been created, then my supervisor will receive a notification whether to approve the file or not. So in here, I can also add another second layer of approval for the management to approve, or I can also set let's say an email. So if my file has been rejected, send an email to my personal email for notification and stuff like that. So, and then there you have it. You create a very simple automated workflow for your daily business process. It's just that simple, and you have a perfect guide on the steps on how you should do it. So after the workflow, FileCloud, we support this powerful search function as well. If you have any files that you require to search in like a keyword, for example, or type network, I'll be able to find all the files that consist of the keyword network, not just the title itself, but inside the content as well. For example, here I have a couple of files that shows me that is the word within. So I can do file searching that easily, just like that, using the FileCloud search function here. Okay, so file operations, I think is pretty direct. So if anything happens, like you upload any files, download any files recently, it will appear right here. All right. So that is pretty much it for the user portal. It's very direct, very simple, and very straight to point. It's very user friendly as well. So I'm going to transition into the admin portal. So if you have any questions in terms of the user portal, you can put it down in the chat box, or you can send us an email afterwards as well. Okay, for the admin portal, the differences between these two is that you can see in the URL here, in the extension, there might be an admin for the admin portal, and for the user page, just a call. So there's differences. And also the admin logo, it's also 100% customizable. You can put an admin logo brand here of your choice, and here you can put a user logo brand of your choice. So these both can be separated in terms of branding wise. So I'm just going to go ahead and log into my administrator account right now. So similar to the user portal, once you log into the admin portal, they will direct you directly into the admin dashboard. So here is you will see some widgets. They show you the key information in a bird's eye view. All right. So you get basically a single pane of glass of what's happening here. All right, you can see different type of users that you have. You have the full users, guest users, how many external users you have, how many files in total in FileCloud that is being used in other files, and also you can check how your licenses, how many licenses being used, when's the expiry date, what's your current version of your FileCloud, which foreign country has been accessing to your FileCloud. So if something happens, you will be alert and you will know what's going on. Maybe there's some policy breach that's happening. Maybe your licensing is about to expire. So you get all this key information in a single pane of glass in a dashboard down here. All right. So you notice at the left-hand side in the column, there's users, group, and admins. You can actually access them directly in the dashboard here at this top side, as you can see. So for example, let's say I were to add up a user. I go ahead and click into add user directly there. So I don't have to click to the left side here. So if I want to add user, I can just add user. All right. So I'll give it a name, maybe a display name, a password, email. All right. Whether I want to send an email notification alerting them, or you have a FileCloud account that you can access, please click into this link. You can do that, or you can include their password in the email as well, so they can have a much more easier access into it. So these are options given to the administrator. Okay. So in terms of importing bulk user, we support that as well in a CSV format. So if you have, you need to follow this format given here, a sample. So you select your CSV file, and you just upload and just import. That's simple. But what if you want to import your Active Directory user? You can do that too. So you can integrate with AD in the settings. Once you integrate with AD successfully, you can import the group name of your choice. Let's say for sales, for example. So I'm able to import. So I'm going to import my group list here, sales. So select, then go or import them. So that is how simple it is to add users or add any groups in FileCloud. So same here, you can import AD or you can add a local group of your choice. So next, after groups, we have the admins. Of course, the admin role here, we understood that sometimes a FileCloud admin can't be doing everything, right? You might need to delegate some tasks. Let's say you might have a file edit admin that only does file auditing. You can create an admin for that and just allow them to do basically the audit function, to have the search function. For the rest of the function, you can untick them and they won't get that function when they log into the admin portal themselves. So of course, once you create the admin, you can also set them to be the administrator of their admin group. So that let's say the manager of the sales department, they can manage the groups, their own individual groups, and manage the users themselves, so that the FileCloud admin doesn't have to do everything. You can delegate the tasks to the individual manager of that department. Which brings us to the team folder collaboration, right? Of course, each folder may be dedicated to each department. For example, I have sales and I have technical. Not everyone's going to have access to these folders. So sales manager and sales group members, they will have access to the sales folder here. So basically, all we need to do is just share it to them. So like I'll click the share function, and then under groups, I'll just add sales team. So only sales will be able to have all the controls here. They can delete, they can use the sync app, or they can manage it. So all sales. But if, let's say, we were to have some granular control of subfolder themselves, like under sales, maybe there's another folder. We can set a granular control where that subfolder can be controlled by a particular person instead of everyone else. So instead of inheriting the permission from the parent folder, even the child permission folder can be overwritten, can override the parent's permission as well. So this is something FileCloud offer in terms of granular control, right? So for network share, after team folders, we have network share. Here we support LAN, we support S3 bucket, like Keith mentioned earlier on. We also support Azure. So it's that simple. Click the add button here. Let's say I'm adding a LAN local network. So I'll give it a name, SS, next. So I have two choices in terms of mounting my LAN folder. I can do a smart mount path. All I need to do is just percentage, and then the folder name, let's say home, and then it will automatically detect this storage that has been attached to the FileCloud server, and just add it here, all right? But if you choose to do the traditional way, where you want to paste the entire directory address, you can do that too. It's just that simple, and then you add into here. So after network share, we have the user share. So any users in FileCloud has shared their file before or in history, you will be able to see here. And you can also override their action. So FileCloud admin has a much more control over the entire FileCloud system and file sharing as well. So if I want to remove this share from this user, I can do that. If I want to set an expiry date, I can do that as well. So user, sometimes they may be sharing a sensitive file and they may not know best. So for FileCloud admin, sometimes when they want to administrate something, they can come to here and check on who's sharing what file and what file has still been sharing and needs to be removed. Admin can control it right here. So for the permission, for the team folders here, you can also, like I mentioned, if you want a granular control, you don't want to inherit the parental permission, this is where you can also play with it and set. So this is where you can set it as well. Check access. If you want to have an effective permission for a specific user, you can select their email address that's within FileCloud and then give them that kind of that privilege to control. Notifications. So of course, if every user portal have their own notification they can set, but in the admin portal, we also allow the admin to set a specific notification for the user in case maybe the user is not smart enough to set any notification. So administrator themselves can also set it for them here. Next, we have the device management. So any app client that the user have installed. So we have the FileCloud desktop app with the FileCloud Cloud Sync app as well and the FileCloud Drive. So if they install it here and then sign in with their credential, you'll be able to see the username, the device name, what is the app version, what is the OS installed on, when was it last accessed, was the status of the application has been approved. So we can see it all here, and if you click down this arrow box, you're able to see much more information on the device information here, the properties, the MAC address, and the login mode, and etc. Stuff like that. So the information in the client application, we'll be able to see it here. So in case, let's say someone left the company, maybe this person left the company and you want to remove their files or the application, you can just click delete right here and they're gone. Or if you want to block their access, you can do it here and then just do a remote write. So any data that is related, that's located in the application will just be wiped out, delete 100%. So after device management, we have the governance dashboard. All right. So the governance dashboard is it displays the retention policy, and as well as DLP statistics. It tells you like how many DLP rules you have, how many compliance you have, so that if there's any policy breach, something like that, you'll be able to keep track, and you're able to see what kind of DLP violations, how many times has been violated, how many retention alerts has been triggered, and would you acknowledge it or something like that. So here is just the summary of the dashboard for governance side. So after the dashboard, of course, you need to set up some retention policies. Okay. For example, here I have couple few retention policies here, like delete rejected files after 30 days. Like if my supervisor rejected my file early on from my workflow process, right, then my file will be deleted after 30 days. So maybe there's some type of data compliance policy that you may need to set. You can set it right here. It's 100% customizable. So if my files required to archive after a year of approval, then yes, it will archive after a year once it has been approved, right? Or you want to permanently delete the rejected files after 15 days, or how many days is up? It's up to the user and how they want to define it. So this is the retention policy for FileCloud. Next, we have the smart DLP rule. Of course, once you set, like you have the retention policy that helps you retain your files. We have the smart DLP where maybe like there's some IC, some sensitive content you want to block. For example, here I have enabled the block from sharing IC. So any files that has IC in it, they will block this file, all right, from being shared. So another example, if I only allow Malaysians to log into FileCloud. So maybe Singapore, if they try to log in, Singapore IP address will not be able to access my FileCloud because of my smart DLP rules. Or any files that are pending for approval, do not allow anyone to download that file. Any files has been rejected, do not allow them to download that file. And then my retention policy will delete the file after 15 days. All right. So how do you create a DLP rule? It's actually very simple, right? You click add DLP rule, give it a name. Let's say I'll just give a random name, JSK. So I have 3 actions here. I have download, share, log in. All right. For this example, I'm going to select download, and then now you need to create a rule expression. Okay. So the rule expression is in JSON format. So if you're not sure what to do, you can always use ChatGPT, or you can refer back to the FileCloud documentation. For the smart DLP rules, it's well documented on how you need to build your rules. Or you can use the rule expression builder for alternative. Just click on that, add new rule. So for here, maybe I want to select metadata exists with value, content category confidential. So I'll just type in there content category confidential. So any file that has the metadata confidential, then I want them to basically don't allow them to download. So I'll just save it, update. So either I want to allow or deny. So I'll just deny it and then enforce it and create. There you go, you have your first rule. So it's just that simple to create the smart DLP rule. All right. So next we have the smart classification. So smart classification is to help you classify a metadata, to apply a metadata to a file, right? Let's say, for example, you have a bulk files, massive amount of files being uploaded, being stored in FileCloud. It's just really unrealistic and time consuming to go into individual file and just apply the metadata. Of course, you can allow users to do that. That is an option as well. But normally you want to use smart classification to scan the files, whether what kind of content they have within the file, then apply a specific metadata to it. So for example, here, I have a classification of classified IC. So any files that contain the expression of IC number, I want them to apply this metadata called high. Then it's related to smart DLP as well. Now that my file knows that it has a metadata of high, value of high, then I can go to smart DLP. I create a smart DLP, like any metadata exists with value with high, then I want them to block them from being shared out. So they both are actually really related together. So if you know how to use it, you can basically use it as a powerful tool to have a very secure file sharing and file team collaboration as well. So next, the compliance center. Okay, so like Keith mentioned, right? For Malaysian bodies, mostly we use HIPAA and GDPR, right? You have customers, maybe they might use iTrial advisor, a rare case. Okay, so it's very simple, right? So all you need to do is just enable the type of compliance you want to satisfy. For example, I'll just enable the GDPR, right? Now I can go to the GDPR tab and click into it, right? So here I have a number of guidelines on what it tells me on the status, whether this rule is complied. Have you set this policy? Is it compliant or not? So if I have some issues on like setup terms of services, I have some issues, I click into it, and it will just give me a short description on what's wrong. All right, so default TOS has not been updated. So as an administrator of FileCloud, I understood this and I want to pass my auditing to satisfy a type of compliance. I need to work on this. I need to make sure my TOS is updated. Then I will comply and I will see a green OK. So that's simple. You have a guideline that tells you what to do in terms on how you should satisfy this type of compliance. So FileCloud provides that powerful, helpful tool for file auditing as well. Next, we go to the MIS tab. All right. So under the MIS, we have the audit option. So the audit option is also a very powerful tool to know what's being modified in your FileCloud system. All right. So you have a username. It tells you who, all right, what IP address, what's going on, a message, and how is it happening, under what agent it's happening. And you have a timestamp of that action that is happening. So let's say I want to search a user, maybe like tag02 user. I can just type their name. I can see where they've been logged in from. Tag02. Give me tag02 is not here. Let me just search tag. Okay, so for example, my user agent, they tell me is from a web browser under this IP address. So for FileCloud, maybe you don't want to port forward or publish it online. That's fine too. You can access it locally through a VPN And then your IP address will definitely reflect into a private IP address, all right? So let's say 10.10.11, for example. So you'll be able to get an idea of which PC this person is accessing my FileCloud from. So this is the audit log. It's a very powerful tool for you to understand what is happening, what operation, is my file being deleted, my file being uploaded, or is it moved? I can see it right here. All of this right here under the audit logs. So after audit logs, you also have the alerts that tells you what's going on in your FileCloud. Maybe there's some violation, or maybe your quota is going to be, storage is going to be full, or maybe there's something wrong with my workflow action. They'll just alert you under these alert tabs. So user log, in case, like I mentioned, you can log your files when you're editing something, right? So you can also overwrite it here. So someone may be logging their file indefinitely, and then as an administrator, you want to be able to overwrite things, right? So here it will just show up, and then you can clear the logs so that people can modify the files. So for FileCloud, we also have a workflow process. So in the user portal, you have your own user workflow. For FileCloud, we also have a workflow to automate operations, daily operations, like for administrator. Like let's say you want to notify admin when a new client application user connect, you can do that. So it's very simple. It's just based on two conditions. If this happens, then that happens. So you have a cause and effect, right? So if a new client connects, then notify that user that connects. All right, then it tells you when it happened, when was the last action was this executed. So if I want to set something against some mitigation against ransomware, I can do that too. For example, here I have a file integrity after 7 days. So if a file was not modified for specific days, which I set for 7 days, then verify the file integrity, then generate an alert to the admin if there's some mismatch on that file. So we can do this workflow as well in the admin portal to make it much more simple to take mitigations against ransomware as well. So that is the gist of the workflow between the differences between the user and the admin workflow is basically like this. You have global operations, and then you have the user level operations. Reports, so we also allow you to generate a report based on, let's say, like maybe files reports been deleted in the last 7 days. So we can generate it in a CSV format. And then, of course, it's that simple. Just add a report, right? Select what kind of report you want to get. Let's say how many users is sharing the report. And then you can set a parameter value. Of course, it tells you it's optional whether you want to have a keyword of that file share, or maybe you want to focus on a folder path. You can set it as well as a parameter value. If there's a permission you want to set, maybe the user have some type of permission, you can also set that. Normally you don't have to. You can just set it and then just give it a name. Then it will generate an overall of the user sharing file, right? So just that simple to generate a report. Federated search. So federated search option is similar to the search bar in the user level, but instead of the user level, you're seeing it in the global level instead. So you're able to see all the files that is in FileCloud and stored in FileCloud. So you can just go ahead and type network. Let's say for keyword network, I'll be able to see all the files that has the keyword network in it. All right. Doesn't matter where you store, doesn't matter what account, where did it store and what user account, I'll be able to see it, and I'll be able to see the user folder path as well. So that is the federated search. Next, we have the metadata. So again, when we create the smart classification to apply what kind of metadata to a file, we already have a default built-in metadata, right? If you want to customize your metadata, like credit card, PI, invoice data, for example, you can do that. It's just simple. Add the metadata, give it a name. Let's say pizza, for example. You can give a description: pizza, hot or cold. Okay. So permission, whether you want to add the user that can read or write on this metadata. So without the permission, normal users would not be able to see the metadata on the file, which also applies another layer of security in terms of modifying the file, right? Then give it an attribute. So this will be the temperature of the pizza, right? Temperature. So what attribute type? It's going to be text. Default value will be normal. That's it. So if I detect maybe like pizza is something, then maybe pizza, then maybe my DLP rule, I can set it like block all pizza that's cold from being downloaded. So it's that simple. So you can think of it, you can use that concept and apply in other file as well. Okay, next we have Ruby. So we will add the metadata. And then next we have the settings of FileCloud. So the settings here, we have a couple options here. So I'll just cover that. In terms of authentication, we have the AD, the LDAP and default. So you can set and fill in all the details for the AD and test whether it's working or not. Then you can do your import AD users or group and such like that. We do support SSO. So if you want to have SSO or for the multi authentication layer, we have that as well. Okay. So if you want to integrate with like antivirus in terms to mitigate against ransomware or to mitigate files that's being malicious files that's being uploaded to FileCloud, you can do that too under here. All right. So this is where you can select. We support ICAP AB virus or CLAMP AB virus. All right. So we also support Salesforce, SIM, right? If you have a SIM, you want alerts to go into your SIM, you can do that. Capture, we support that as well. Okay, so FE, we support that. ICAP, DLP, Microsoft Teams, AutoCAD Viewer as well. So if you want to view your AutoCAD files, you can use this option as well. All right. So another thing I'll cover is the policy tab. So the policy tab here is very important. So in terms of policy, this is where you set the user quota, storage, what the user can do, and stuff like that. So example, I'll just click new policy, I'll give it a name, pass, great. Then I'll edit this policy. So under here, you can select what kind of UI you want to show to the user, whether you allow the user to change the UI version, okay? So what kind of share mode you allow? You can allow all shares, private shares only, or shares are not allowed in terms for the user side. What is the default share expiry days? So we add another layer of security. So instead of users setting the expiry date in their sharing option, we can set here as well for the default. How many max number of download allow? We also can set that. The quota here I set 2 gig, right? And whether you want to enable privacy settings as well. Okay. So do you want to allow the user to store deleted files? You can also set here yes or no. So if no, then any files they deleted will just permanently delete. If yes, then they will just go to the trash folder until they permanently delete themselves, right? So this is basically the policies for the settings wise. So customization, like I mentioned, branding is we understand branding is very important to some companies, So here is where you can do all the customization in terms of the UI, the label and logos, what kind of color they want to choose for the UI themselves, the background. So this is all you can customize it, play around. You can even customize the message URI, right? So maybe they want to install some client apps. You don't need to put FileCloud. You can put other links. Maybe you're hosting it yourself locally, right? So you can change that as well. UI message. What happens if they're unable to find a page? You can change all this. You can see it's all in HTML5. You can just add it. So FileCloud, again, we provide that flexibility in terms of customization, not just branding, but also the overall message and the colors, templates, newsfeed, and TOS as well in terms of services, right? So lastly, we have the system tab where you can check your system, right? Whether the installation version is okay. Maybe you want to generate the log to troubleshoot. This is where you come into this system, into this feature here, and just check everything's okay. If there's something is wrong, I'll generate the log and I can check the logs. The logs will be in TXT file for your information. And then lastly, we have the upgrade. So you can see that my FileCloud version is one version behind. So if this is the latest version, I need to run my upgrade. And for Linux, I need to run a script for that. So it tells you what you should do, what you need to do to upgrade your FileCloud. So if you're using the FileCloud Online, you do not need to worry about this because FileCloud Online is 100% managed by Principal. But if you're hosting on-prem yourself, so this is something you may want to take note of and look into it. So this is pretty much the brief summary of the admin portal and user portal themselves. So I will end it here. And if you have any further questions or any requirements that your customer may have, you may contact the sales at sales@secureone.com.my, and we can explore the requirement further. So I'll pass it back to Pei.
Okay, thank you, Aaron. This is such a good comprehensive demo. So we have a question here from the floor. Is FileCloud a zero trust solution?
Yeah, maybe let me answer that. I think this is a great question. If you actually do Google FileCloud plus Zero Trust, you will see that we are able to allow end users to have this zero trust policies in place, right? Adding another layer of security on top of what FileCloud is already very good at. So we are able to support zero trust. Yep.
Okay, I hope this answered the step, right? So is there any questions for Keith and Aaron, maybe for the presentation or on the demonstration? Feel free to leave your question in the chat box. Yes, the deck we will share it later after the webinar. We will share the recording and also the presentation slide to everyone. Yes, no worries. Okay, I see there's no more questions. Okay, so if you have any more questions that you think of after this webinar, feel free to email to us, sales@secureone.com.my, or you may call us. Okay, so we will respond to you. So I think that's all for today. Thank you, Mr. Keith, and thank you, Aaron, for the presentation and demonstration. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. So we shall see you next time. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.